Greetings and welcome to our show, Fresh Geek Context. It is here we discuss insightful views on a routine bi-weekly basis over the incredibly nerdy things we can't stop talking about. To take you on this dorky ride are your hosts, Josh.
I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't very nice.
And myself, Jace. So why don't you take a seat, sit back, relax. We're here to do all the heavy lifting. It is about to get nerdy. This is episode 15.
The Wolverine movie we've all been waiting for.
The Wolverine movie you've been waiting for.
Starting this already.
You know my feelings on this, which we will finally get into today.
Like today?
Today.
For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, esteemed host Jace Rockland here has had qualms about a group of played characters from the MCU, or is it Marvel?
You should know the answer to that.
Ladies, gents, mutants, I presented a clip illustrating all of Jace's rants that have been aired since we first started this show.
Aw, you shouldn't have.
Ugh.
The studio thought it was a fantastic idea to okay the idea of taking his superpower of the mouth and just shutting it.
To the anime X-Men
No
version.
to the cartoon, no to the movies.
Yes.
No.
Oh man, perfection.
Josh, I think every single time I have, we have an episode, there is at least one time I mention or hint at how much I hate the X-Men now. I really enjoyed what the X-Men series kind of did at that time. The dynamics between mutants against humans and different points of views over how they should exist in the world of humans. And eventually the X-Men movies, which kind of tapered off, but, that's neither here or there.
Really? When Sony and Marvel, announced that they had figured out how to do this, people were able to illustrate their happiness, their joy. People do that on the internet. Who knew? See, that wasn't that bad.
Jeez.
What? I'm not wrong.
It's your opinion, and now we are here with the Logan movie review. Jace, I'm almost afraid to ask. Did you see it? Did you like it?
Okay. Well, before we dive in, let's let the listeners know what's going on. I think that's fair and nice and polite.
Okay.
First, movie review, then break, then learning time, then X-Men nostalgia, ranting, and news.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. All right, so let's go.
All right, cool. But before we begin, quick little disclaimer. We are going directly into spoiler territory here.
Bang.
If you have not seen Logan, please go watch it. And then once you're done doing that, come back, listen to us ramble about it, and then listen to our wonderful, wonderful review and the rest of the podcast. So that's your final warning. One more time. Spoilers.
Just stop. If you haven't seen it, just go back.
Just red stop sign. Red means stop.
Hit the pause.
Hit
Then watch it. No. That's actually clever though. Hit the pause button and then come back and then watch us and then we'll get it right into it. We'll wait.
Cool. So we're just gonna wait right here for them, or
no, we're not gonna. We have to do this.
Oh, we have to keep going. Okay.
Yeah,
there's
we
no
have to
pause.
keep
There's
going.
no pause button for us. There's one for
pause
you,
button for us.
but
I mean,
not for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So I will go first because don't even want to know what you thought about this movie. But anyway, overall, I think it was a fantastic movie. X-Men Origins Wolverine was, as everyone knows, horrible. The Wolverine, the second installment of the Wolverine franchise, definitely got better. However, I felt as if its third act did not live up to the first two. Especially if you watch the uncut edition, the unrated. It did not live up to the first two parts of the movie. But overall, I still enjoyed myself a lot with the Wolverine. With Logan, one, it closes that trilogy. Two, it closes out a story of this man that we have been seeing since the first X-Men movie way back in 2000. And watching his story come to a close was pretty fascinating. Hugh Jackman was not lying. He goes all out in this movie. He has Wolverine rage like crazy, which was amazing. I loved every second of it. Old man Xavier was hilarious and kooky and fun. But very, very, very serious things happen to him in this movie, and you kind of see the repercussions of what happened to him, and especially about things that he's done in his past, which we will talk about that in a few moments. And then X-23. This is that girl's first movie. Holy crap. She was amazing. She was very, very, very good. So overall, love the movie. I thought it was a fantastic, fantastic way to close out Logan's chapter in the X-Men universe. We'll go into like detailed things of what I loved about it in a little bit. But overall, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie.
That's it? You enjoyed it?
I
I mean, I should be happy to get that, honestly.
I just no. I mean, so it was. I found it very endearing. I was a little puzzled at the beginning. I looked around, and I didn't really know if I was in the right movie. I was like, "What is happening right now?" And so I had to double check my theater, and everyone else was laughing. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna laugh too." What I'm actually referring to, guys, is there is. So I guess we're gonna go to the end to jump right back to the beginning. There is no stinger. There is no final post-credit scene.
Correct.
There's no mid-credit scene. There is just the credits, which is done for a reason, which I'm sure Josh and I will get into in briefly. So what they ended up doing was they put what would have been good as the final credit scene in the beginning, which was a little alarming because I wasn't expecting that at all.
I don't think anybody was expecting that at all.
Correct. So what ended up happening was I was kind of not put off by it, but I was just not expecting it. So I kept looking over my shoulder, almost wanting to ask, am I in the right place? And I'm like, it has to be the right place. It has to be.
Sure.
So, yeah. There's a teaser for Deadpool 2, which may or may not be out soon.
I mean,
according to the titles.
Yeah,
it says soon enough.
It says coming soon, but it's not like it's coming out this year. Yeah, not soon
but
enough.
But it said not. Yeah, exactly. So there's that.
So yeah, we can talk about that really quickly. I was dying of laughter.
I was shocked. I was like not expecting that.
Yeah, I was not expecting it at all. Of course, Deadpool doing his Deadpool thing. He's walking around without a suit on, sees a guy getting mugged, and he's like, I gotta do something. And he runs to a phone booth while the Superman song is playing, the original Superman theme song by John Williams. And he's in the phone booth just trying to, he's like taking off his clothes. He's trying to put his suit on. His
butt cheeks.
There were Ryan Reynolds butt cheeks that went up against the phone booth.
It was Ryan Reynolds butt cheeks, but they were scarred. There
was Deadpool scarred. But then,
cheeks,
and it goes on. I think it went on for a little bit too long, but I still couldn't help but laugh. He's in that phone booth for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah,
he's in there way too long.
I remember watching that scene and thinking to myself, I was like, okay, this is kind of dragging now.
Yeah, it did go on a little bit too long, but it was still all in good fun. He comes out of the phone booth, the Superman song starts playing again, and then he gets there and the guy dies because he took way too long in the phone booth. And then I really want to go back to either A, read what it said.
Oh yeah,
or B,
really long.
Or B, find it online legally.
I don't think it's online.
Or when it's online legally, just to read that. Because my friends and I, we had a theory that was actually the Logan movie summarized.
Oh.
Because you see Old Man at the beginning, and then somewhere you can read very quickly there was a fisherman. And when you watch the Logan movie, there's a scene where they steal a car from a fisherman. So it's like, wait, was that the summarized Deadpool movie? I mean, Wolverine movie?
Interesting.
So I kind of want to go back and read that. But that was fun. That was a fun little tidbit to have at the beginning. And the reason that wasn't at the end of the movie, I guess we'll jump there real quick.
Are we going to? Or are we just going to go through the review?
Yeah, we can go through the review first. Yeah, we'll save that for last. So... movie begins. Logan's an old man. It looks like he's a limo driver, right? Limo driver. He's out getting money. He's getting medication for. We see that he's caring for Professor Xavier, And Patrick Stewart, by the way, oh my god, he must have been having so much fun on set with with
he
Kooky
got to
Xavier.
he finally got to be Shakespearean. which I
Exactly.
like, actually.
Definitely. And then I thought it would be a little alarming hearing Patrick Stewart curse, because he cursed and I'm like, oh my god, Patrick Stewart cursed. I don't know if I'm supposed to hear this. And then he kept doing it and I was like, this is fantastical. So I enjoyed it.
I've heard him curse before, so I didn't find that alarming. It's just
You just don't hear
it's-
it that much.
You don't, and it's a break away from all of the other, X-Men movies before it.
Oh,
So.
complete break. And the reason for that is because Xavier at this point, he's kind of almost lost his mind completely. So the medication that Logan gives him is supposed to stop these seizures that keeps happening to him.
These are supporting characters, right?
Yeah, these are supporting
characters.
characters.
Let's talk about like Logan. Let's talk,
Yeah.
because this is his movie
Sure.
for the most part.
For the most part. Do we want to just go through the movie, like the main points? He meets this lady, or the lady's chasing him down.
The summary of the summary of the movie is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, go ahead.
Logan is in the year 2029, so this is a future movie.
Yes.
Again. And the world has very much changed. The landscape for mutants has been changed because of events that kind of led them to kind of live somewhat in hiding. And in this version, you see Logan, who's much older, and you clearly see something is wrong because he is still a fighter, but it takes a while for him to get there.
Yep.
It takes a long time for him to heal. It takes a long time for him to gather his composure. His gruff is still there, but,
Right.
there is a group of guys at the beginning of the movie that taken advantage of him. But he's doing this part-time job as a limo driver.
Yeah.
And he's using that money to take care of people he cares about. Yeah, and during the course of this, you kind of get this glimpse into the past of what happened to everybody.
Right.
And as that happens, there is a woman, a nurse, who claims she has a daughter that needs help being transported, but things go south. And there is also a man who's a representative for an organization called, I want to say, Terrigen Company, but that's the wrong franchise. Transigen? Transigen, exactly. Who kind of looks like Cable, but he's clearly not Cable.
Not Cable.
Not Cable at all.
Not Cable.
But he's looking for a girl. Logan plays stupid until he can't do it anymore. It is revealed that she has the same powers as, Logan.
Right. So she has the healing factor, and then she has adamantium claws, just like he does.
So, what are your thoughts on Logan being old?
So I thought Logan being old was really cool to see. So it takes a little bit of inspiration from the Old Man Logan story. Of course, they couldn't do that exactly because there's a lot of characters that appear in that Old Man Logan storyline. But the way that it was done, I thought it was done wonderfully. I do like the idea of, hey, Logan's been alive since what, the 1800s? So it was nice to see him not be like in his young prime state, but to see him, as Old Man Logan pretty much. I do like the way that the makeup was on Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman's not young himself, but he looks still great today. The makeup on him to make him look older and to make him look like he's been through stuff. With all the scars on him and everything like that was really, really cool to see.
Sure.
Definitely a different take of the Wolverine that we've seen throughout this entire run. So I enjoyed it.
And so some of the other characters that you see and the landscape, to me it was
like a comic book Western.
I don't consider it a comic book. I did not consider Logan to be a comic book movie, which is probably the reason why I enjoyed it so much.
Sure.
Finally.
Sure.
I felt like this was a guy. I feel like they were finally able to capture what Bryan Singer was trying to do in the original X-Men movie, where this is reality and they happen to be mutants in it, and this is what happens to these mutants.
Sure,
in
it's
this
a,
real
it's a
world.
story driven by the characters, pretty much.
Correct.
And the characters have, arcs, and they have emotions, and you feel those emotions throughout the film.
Of course.
You feel that exactly just like you said. It's grounded in reality. Like if this were a regular movie with like no mutant powers involved, it would probably still be a pretty great movie on paper for sure. And
course.
it's a movie that I would probably still watch even without Wolverine in it. It was I mean, honestly, I've read some comments online, and I kind of agree. This is The Last of Us almost. It's the Logan of us, as some people have been dubbing. We don't need a Last of Us movie because we just had it.
We literally just had it.
Literally just had it. And that's not saying, it's a bad thing. I mean, that's a really good thing. It's just a really, really good story.
It's funny that you said The Last of Us, because as soon as I saw the title start rolling, you notice how the text was in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
It felt like I was playing the game.
Sure.
So I don't know if that were influenced or inspired by that.
Possibly.
But I enjoyed that it was a different take. It didn't feel like the previous movies. It didn't feel like Origins, thank God. It didn't feel like the Wolverine.
Yeah. It was,
And I had high hopes for the Wolverine, because the segment where Logan kind of travels into the past, sorry, not the past, I'm sorry. He travels to Japan, and his ties that he has to, Yuriko, and how he learns to fight, and I've always found the stories that, you see that occur in the 80s,
Sure.
Very intriguing.
Definitely. Those are some of his best stories.
Some of his best stories. And so now this one played really well visually on screen. And, in the first act, you are introduced to pretty much all the players in it. You get to see Caliban, which I am very familiar with, but, he looks very different in this. He's older, he's frail, but he still has his ability to track mutants.
Correct.
So, I don't know. I felt a little, saddened, to see Patrick Stewart, because I know the man's getting older as
Sure.
an actor.
Yeah.
But you really get to see Xavier fighting on for his humanity, and you don't really know if Logan is doing something to keep him safe, or you don't really know if he's doing something, with ill intentions.
Sure.
I feel like they left it ambiguous enough for reasons that we'll talk about in the end, which kind of came together very nicely.
Yeah.
The setup was great. I usually don't say that about a lot of movies. Like I liked the Wolverine at first screening, and after all of that, it just kind of fell apart.
Sure.
In the second movie, anyway. In this movie, I felt like it was great.
It was great throughout all three acts of the movie. So we kind of touched upon it a little bit, calling it The Last of Us. And Last of Us, of course, follows Joel and this young girl, Ellie, along with Logan in this journey, or the reason he takes this journey.
Ellie. Oh, man, this was The Last of Us.
It was, right?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. So along with the reason Logan is going on this last journey is because of this little girl. The little girl
And her mother got killed.
Well, her nurse mom got killed. Wasn't really her mother. Right. But
Fireflies? Did they mention fireflies in Spanish or something like that?
they did not.
Oh,
Although there
man,
was a
I
Firefly
could've-
poster in the Deadpool teaser. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, I did catch that. What
Yeah.
was that?
I don't know, but it was there. It was awesome. I loved it. But we are, of course, talking about X-23.
Yes.
She made her debut in this movie, played by actress Daphne Keane. This was that little girl's first film. And
What a debut.
I can see her getting tons of work from this point forward. She was fantastic.
She punches Logan in the face.
She
in the third
punches Logan in the face, which I started cracking up. Me being Hispanic, the second that she starts rambling to him in Spanish, I died.
Yeah, you need to tell me what they said.
She's basically mad at him because Logan's like, "What? You can talk?" And she's like, "I don't talk because all you do is insult me and yell at me, so that's why I don't say anything." So that's pretty much what she said.
I wish
Which
I had
is great.
subtitles for that.
I think, and honestly, I think the no subtitles made it even funnier because my friends who were with me that don't speak Spanish still thought it was great. So they did ask me the same question, like, "Oh, what did she say?" But I think it was funnier without the subtitles. But yeah, she does punch Logan in the face, which is great. But her character, though, we kind of touched upon it a little bit there. So she doesn't talk for a majority of the movie. And even after
two
full acts, not talking at all. And even in the third act, she doesn't talk that much, but she definitely talks a lot more.
She talks when she needs to talk.
Exactly.
Which harkens back to the original X-Men. You notice how none of the villains actually ever say anything? Like
It's true.
like supporting villain has only one line.
It's true. It's very true. But her performance, even with her not talking, like, her eyes, her movements, everything like that was just... like you got her, like you understood this little girl through her actions.
I like her, I thought the claws that she has on her feet was interesting.
I believe she had that in the book too, did she not?
I don't know, because I stopped reading the books for a really long time because I just became uninterested in it, honestly.
I'm pretty sure she did.
But I think that's an interesting trait to have.
I didn't like that they only used it one time, though. I kind of wish
they used it twice.
Well, they used it in the first fight when she fights. Did she use it in the end
in the very end? She uses it again.
She does? Okay.
Mm-hmm. She only uses it defensively.
Yeah. So, but so she has like two little claws that come from her feet, pretty much. Well, one claw each foot.
Right. Which I don't know how that actually comes out. Does it come out of her toe, the top of her foot, the bottom of her foot, the heel?
So it definitely came out from the.
If
I had to guess, I would say, the tip of her shoe. If I had to guess, I would say it's between the big toe and the index toe, like right there, like if you were to wear sandals, that split you have.
True, but I could see it working if it were vertical. It came out of her horizontal, and I was like, it kind of looked to me as if it were a foot blade, like a shoe blade, rather.
Sure, yeah.
So it just looked like if it came out, I don't know, it's like a tiny little detail, but I noticed these things.
Sure.
Like anatomically, I feel like it should be vertical.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. So, but yeah, no. So Daphne Keane, probably gonna look for her in movies coming forward because she did a fantastic job. I can only imagine what she'll do in the future. So she'll probably be up and coming, just like the kids from Stranger Things. I'm sure those kids are gonna be up and coming too.
I hope they're in more movies together. They play wonderfully together.
Exactly.
But this is not that. What did you, Joss, think of the action sequences?
So the action sequences were great. They were brutal. They were gory. They were well choreographed. It wasn't just Logan flailing around. Like the choreography of the fights, I thought was really, really good. Because it was a rated R film, you got more of the claws like going in people's faces, through their heads, cutting off, like in the first action sequence when those guys are beating up on him to try to take his rims from his car. He cuts limbs off. He cuts off some guy's arm. That kind of lets you know, all right, this is what you're getting yourself into. And in my I don't know if you saw this in your theater, but in my theater, there was two different sets of parents who brought their kids to this movie.
Oh no.
And I was sitting there like, oh, you chose the wrong movie. But they didn't get up and they didn't take the kids out, so I don't know.
There was a lot of head cutting. There were lots of shots of people's brains falling out.
There's a shot of X-23 with a dude's head, and she tosses it over to what is his name? The villain.
Who?
The one with the arm.
X-24.
He's not X-24.
Oh, I don't know.
Not X-24. We'll get into X-24.
No, okay.
But the gentleman with the arm. Robot arm.
You know what? While you are talking, I'm going to look that up.
I
thought the action was excellent. The it was grounding. It was really grounding. I enjoyed it because again, I didn't feel like I was watching a superhero movie, so I'm not expecting these fantastical things
Sure.
to unfold. So I'm gonna look for. I forget his name.
Yeah, I understood the other gentleman's name, Stryker's son, which one I thought that was a pretty cool villain. But at the same time, Dr. Rice, as his name is in the movie, it was a cool way to kind of help that Logan story arc, being Stryker's son, which I thought was pretty cool.
So the actor's name is Boyd Holbrook,
Okay.
and he plays Pierce.
Pierce, okay, that's his name.
But I gotta tell you something. He reminds me of the actual actor that plays in Last of Us, which is why I was getting confused. I was like, "Are they doing this on purpose?"
Like he
I think
reminds
his name
you
is-
of
The actual person that plays,
Joel.
yes, Troy Baker.
Troy Baker,
That's
yeah.
his name. Yeah. Doesn't he look like?
He looks a little bit like Troy Baker. I mean, in his IMDb photo, he does. In the movie, just not at all. But
I don't know, man.
IMDb photo.
Look at him. Look at them side by side.
Again, in the IMDb photo, he definitely does. So
Okay.
in case you guys want to see, just go to imdb.com, go to Logan, look for Boyd Holbrook. It's his main profile photo. He kind of looks a little bit like Troy Baker there. So
Yeah.
that's where we're getting at. But in any
Okay.
case, yes, I agree with you. The action was grounded. It was kept to a minimum. It wasn't like crazy mutant powers going left and right. It's pretty much like if a dude was using knives instead of guns, or guns versus
Right.
knives. Yeah, and then overall, the movie keeps on going. They're on this trip to try to bring this young girl to this safe place called Eden. We later find out Eden to be, of course, the grounds where all the other children who were being
Held captive, or
held
grown,
captive
or
and
harvested.
turned into these mutants went to go meet
Soldiers.
up. Yeah, soldiers. They were
Right.
meant to be soldiers, and then, of course, that's where they all meet up so they can try to leave and get away from the country. And that sequence, the entire sequence leading up to that, like X-23 just being like, look, I know you're my father, because X-23 is has James Howlett / Logan's DNA inside of her, which is what made her, which was pretty cool.
Right.
That's kind of kept. There is one thing I didn't like, and I'll bring this up. I didn't like, and again, I haven't read the book in forever, but I didn't like how they're different. They're all X-23 technically, but she's X-23 23. The others were X-23, 44 or whatever it was. So
I mean, to further the story, that didn't really
Yeah.
bother me. I mean,
it was
I don't know
just
if there's
weird.
really
I
much
don't
that
know.
bothered me, because for once I
That's a
actually
nitpick.
introduced characters that I care about,
Sure.
which is rare. Most of the characters that they've introduced in other characters, they're either inputting them in there, like Gambit, who serve no purpose other than fan service, or then you have the Wolverine that make these kind of throwaway characters, and
Sure.
they're not memorable. But then there was the family that you spend a significant amount of time with in the second act of Logan, and all of these characters. You find out what they are. You find out what their plights are.
Sure.
You become attached to them, and then they all die. But it's for a reason. I don't know, man. I the scene where they all die, that hit me. I don't know if it hit you the same way, but especially at the end when the father kind of saves the day, when X-24 kind of comes in and does all the damage that he does. The father turns around after shooting X-24 in the head, which by the way, for if you are still listening to this and you haven't seen the movie, I don't know what you're even doing anymore. But
Spoilers, dude.
I know, but we mentioned this. X-24 is exactly like young Logan.
Yeah, it's pretty
right?
much Logan.
It's Logan. It looked like
It looks it's cosmetically it's Logan, but then it doesn't have the same memories as Logan. That's the only difference.
No, but it looks like Sabretooth.
Right, with the shaved head and on all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of.
Exactly. It looked like him, which I thought it would have been interesting.
That would have been
if
interesting
they did
right?
that. But
That would've been pretty
whatever. You know, I'm done with making suggestions. I'm just gonna, whatever it is, it is. I just,
Sure. I mean,
I
it
liked
worked
the
out
movie
for
for
it.
what it was. And
I mean, sure, it would have been cooler that way, but this
it
still
certainly
worked
did.
out. It still had the same impact.
It certainly had the same impact.
In fact, I feel like it had a little bit more because just before the scene that you're talking about, X-24 kills Xavier, and Xavier.
Yeah.
It's not known if Xavier knew that wasn't Logan, or
Well, no, he did. He did because when Logan picked him up and was carrying him downstairs, he was like, "It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. I'm sorry."
right. But at
This
that
wasn't me."
point, is he gone already? Pretty much.
No, he was talking to him. He was
Yeah.
whispering in his ear.
Okay.
I would think, that was an
Yeah.
important scene that was memorable enough.
Yeah.
But do you think that the father would have shot Logan if he had another shot?
He did shoot Logan. The only reason he didn't actually shoot him was because he didn't have any rounds left. But the gun clicked.
I know that, but
Had there been a bullet in there, he would have shot Logan.
oh man, I don't know. I think that was an interesting moment to show.
Yeah.
But he kind of passes away after that.
Yeah. That was a strong scene, and I mean, yeah, that entire sequence, like when Logan's like, "No, we gotta go," and then Xavier's like, "No, we can stay." I mean, in your head, you're kind of know, okay, these people are gonna die. Like you can kind of have a little bit of predictability in there, but still seeing it happen and seeing the way that it happens, it's just like, you feel for these characters because they were part of the story. They were nice. They were developed even in the few minutes that they were on screen. Logan and the father going out and fixing the water pipe, like that was cool to see. And then you just see them get ripped apart immediately.
Of course,
It was a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. It was tough to watch because there were meaningless deaths, and
Yes.
I don't know if we've seen that. Like there were characters that died in the Wolverine, but I certainly didn't. I was really just rooting for Logan at the end of the movie.
Sure, yeah, definitely. But real quick, let's talk about this. Before Xavier is killed, he is giving his confession. Well, he doesn't give it fully, but you can kind of put the pieces together yourself. In that,
Which I thought was interesting, how they hinted to a lot of things.
yeah, there. So in the before that section, they're in the car, and you hear on the radio, "Oh, we haven't had." So Xavier had a seizure, which he almost killed people again.
Which is harkens back to X2, where he freezes everybody.
And if he concentrates too hard, he can kill people. Which was the main goal of Stryker in the second movie. He wanted Xavier to concentrate hard enough to kill all the mutants. And then Magneto flipped it to kill all the humans. But in this movie, since he's fragile and he has these seizures, he can't control it, so he just flat out can kill anybody.
Degenerative.
Exactly. And so when they're in the car ride, and after Xavier almost kills people I guess they were in a hotel.
Yeah.
You hear on the radio.
Was it in Vegas?
I think it was in Vegas. You hear on the radio that, this is almost as bad as what happened a few years ago where 600 people died, including several members of, and then that's when they cut the radio. And then a little bit later, Xavier goes, I know what I did. I know what I did was terrible. And then you can kind of put the pieces together that something happened where Xavier lost control somehow and ended up killing not only 600 innocent people, but he killed most, if not all, the members of the X-Men, except for Logan. What do you think about that?
As far as the movie's concerned, or
about that outcome?
Well, I know a little bit about Logan in the books. In Old Man Logan, I believe Logan kills all of the X-Men. I think he's the one that's responsible for killing all the X-Men. I can't really speak to that,
Don't
so I'd like to actually go back and read it now. Because if anything, this movie actually makes me want to go back and read the books. Which was strange because throughout all of the X-Men movies, I was pretty well versed in all of the storylines, so I knew what to expect. So I guess this is the reason why
You enjoyed it so much.
I didn't like the other movies, because I just felt like they were just poor representations of what the books really were. So maybe that's the reason why I like this movie so much, just because I stopped reading it and I was able to just take this movie for what it is.
Sure.
Which I don't know if you remember. This is I purposely don't read books before I watch the movies, because I know I'm always going to get upset.
Sure.
Always.
Yeah, you do it after.
This is the reason why.
Yeah. Real quick on this subject, I did read an article online. They were originally going to open the movie, besides, that opening Logan killing those guys trying to steal his rims. They were originally going to open with the X-Mansion, all the X-Men dead, and they would start from there and then move on to where we are.
Oh, that would have been weird. I don't know if that would have worked.
Exactly, and the article goes to show, hey, that would have been a cool idea, but this is a story about Logan, and if we had put that in the beginning of the movie, that would have made it a general X-Men movie. So I'm glad they didn't put it in, and I'm glad that it was put in this way. Because you kind of still get that X-Men portion of it, but it's still a character-driven movie with Logan in it. It's Logan's story. Speaking of it being Logan's story, this is his last story, because one he dies at the end of the movie finally.
He totally dies.
He totally dies. He does go out fighting though, which is really awesome. Like, he has one more rage blast because of this serum, this medicine that he
still
takes.
Doesn't do berserker rage.
He's close to it though. I mean, as close as we've ever gotten
to it.
As close as we've ever gotten in any other movie.
I just see a man who's struggling really hard.
Yeah,
I've seen it in every single movie. Wolverine, Logan struggles really, really hard. But
yes.
I've never seen Berserker Rage ever come into fruition. He came close in X-Men 2, and he stopped himself because kids were around.
Sure. But in this movie, come on, he went all out. He did
not. What is go all out?
Going all out. He freaking screaming, just running up to people, slicing them, just going all out.
That's what Wolverine does. That's not what Berserker Rage is. What we saw is Loganing. He Loganed his way through his entire, movie. That's what it is.
Hashtag Loganing.
Hashtag Loganing. We can do that, right?
We can
hashtag Loganing.
Hashtag Loganing.
And this is why I don't care anymore, because it's like, if you haven't done it for any of the movies, now I'm saying this because I actually plan on watching Apocalypse, because I know he makes a small cameo. I don't really know what he does. Don't tell me. Watch it, and then we'll talk about it. But sure. I don't believe that he did. And you're gonna have, over a decade of
almost
movies. Almost 2 decades, right? He's been in all of these movies, and they couldn't do Berserker Rage once. It's like, this is the part that annoys me. It's like,
well, the thing is, all the movies were PG-13. This is the first R, so.
And this would have been the perfect way to send him off.
Yeah.
Like, actually have him do full-on Berserker Rage, eyes roll back into his head, loses control. He not only hurts the enemy, but he hurts people that he cares about around him. Like, really think of the implications of that.
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, they toned it down a bit, for sure. But
there's no toning it down. He didn't do Berserker Rage. He
fair.
went Loganing.
He went Loganing. That's fair. But I still think that this was still a perfect way to end his arc, and of course, to end Mr. Hugh Jackman's career as Mr. Logan, as Wolverine. Would you say that this is, if he has said over and over again, this is his last Wolverine. He
actually said in an article
Well,
And I'm not even mad by this. Like
Sure.
he said that he would love to continue as Wolverine if he could appear with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
right.
This is something that we've been hearing over and over and over
Yeah.
again, but it's like if you talked to me before, this movie came out, I would have said, this is ridiculous. Why wouldn't you take advantage of this situation? But at this point it's like, I don't know, man. I'm like tired of asking,
Sure, we all are.
This is not this should not be a shock to anybody. But, for some reason these people can't figure it out. I don't know whose party is what. I'm not privy to these things. But I'm not going to rant on it anymore because it's like, well, you already know this. So
Sure.
you're either ignoring it because you don't think it's going to be good enough, or you're just not good at what you do.
Sure.
I
That's fair.
don't know. Or you think something is better. I don't know. So I just leave it alone.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Yeah, no, my question was going to be like, this is his last time, right? As much as you
Yes.
have issues with the X-Men movies, talking about just Hugh Jackman as this character. One, do you think this was a great send-off? Two, did you enjoy him as the character throughout the years?
Yes, I enjoyed the send off. And I mean, many people have always talked about who could have played Wolverine. I read an article recently that said that Chris Claremont wanted Bob Hoskins. You have to figure back in like the 80s, like,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the decade, wanted Bob Hoskins to play. And honestly, I could see it. I could see Clint Eastwood doing it. I mean,
Sure, I can see Clint.
Clint Eastwood honestly kind of looks like Hugh Jackman in some roles that he's played. But I like Hugh Jackman. I like Hugh Jackman. Yeah, I don't have any qualms with him. My issues usually rely on the people who are managing the property,
Sure.
not the people who reside in the property,
Right.
because they're really going to do what they're told.
Right.
They're not. I mean, even if you ad lib, you're only ad libbing how many of your lines. There's a screenwriter that does that. So, did I like Hugh Jackman? I loved Hugh Jackman. I think he's great.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same way. If this truly is his last time, as he says it is, yes, Logan, perfect way to send him off. I felt, thought it was a great story arc. Like especially if you watch from X-Men 1 all the way, even Origins, like, it has to be there because it is, all the way through to this
They
movie.
brought back the adamantium bullet.
They did.
Like
They brought
they
that.
really put that in there. They
brought that.
They used it to finish X-24.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, that entire arc of Logan throughout all of these movies. This is the 10th movie we said, right?
Yeah.
10th
Yes,
movie.
10th movie.
It's pretty insane what Hugh Jackman has done with this character, and he genuinely loves the character, which is great. I mean, like I would assume you'd have to for playing the same dude for 17 years, right?
I would hope so.
Definitely.
And he worked hard at it too.
He did work hard at it. He
wasn't-
he genuinely loved the character. He worked hard on it. It's not like he was, just phoning it in. He genuinely wanted this to be good. He wanted this to be great, which I admire him for. And I am gonna miss him as this character because obviously now they are probably going to recast Wolverine in future X-Men movies. So we'll see what happens with that. But Hugh as Wolverine, he is Wolverine. That's it. Just like Robert Downey is Tony Stark, just like Chris Evans is Captain America.
Yeah, but these characters are timeless, man.
They are timeless.
We've been dealing with these things for. I mean, when was Wolverine created? His first appearance was in the Hulk.
1973, 74, around there.
Okay, so 73, 74. All right, we'll say it's 74. It is. I
Okay,
see it
cool.
here. I mean, that character comes on as an adult. Is he alive? Because I know he died in the book, and now he's back again.
He did die recently, and then now he's back.
He was only a little bit.
Nobody stays dead in comics.
Nobody says that. So you
except
have
for
these
except for Uncle Ben, but that's a different story.
well, he's supposed to stay dead, actually.
Yeah.
But you talk about these characters. I mean, they've been alive. In production, printing. People write, about them, People buy their books. So obviously they're going to be different characters. So, you know, I know that Wolverine's going to get recast again.
We both do.
And, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, but for a generation of people, this is the definitive Wolverine for them.
I mean, like I said, he's been playing it for nearly 20 years.
Exactly. Just like Christopher Reeve is the definitive Superman for a lot of people,
I don't know about that.
Or Michael Keaton is, well, again, for certain people. Michael Keaton's the definitive Batman. For you, it's probably, I would assume it's Christian Bale for Batman.
I don't know. It's like I find the people who find definitively who that character is for
But for them personally.
it's like whatever their but whoever their favorite character is.
Right.
So I can't tell you like Christopher Reeves is this Superman when, the new guy that's in Batman versus Superman
Henry Cavill
is Henry Cavill. Kids that are watching him today that like Superman, and it's going to be like, that's Superman to me.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So, like, people have their set person as this character. So for a lot of people, they're going to cast Wolverine very soon probably, but for a lot of people, it's Hugh Jackman who is their Wolverine, and that's going to stick with them, for a long time.
Of course. Yeah. And I couldn't imagine it any other way.
Definitely.
So yeah, this is his last outing, and I don't know. What would you rate this? Would you 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars?
Are we doing stars?
It's not gonna be 3 stars.
I would say 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 4. I enjoyed the movie. I was like shocked. Like I said, when the credits started rolling, I said, "This is good."
Sure.
I enjoyed this. More of as a movie, though, not as a comic book movie.
Right, as just a movie, as a film.
Until Cinema Sins comes in, they tear it up. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Love those guys. Watch all their videos.
I love those guys.
So great.
So great. So I think we're ready for break time.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll be back after some break music, and when we come back, we'll have some learning time about the origins of X-Men, and then we'll maybe have that rant and the discussion.
Oh boy, can't wait.
Josh.
But
music.
Pressing play now.
Students, welcome to Xavier's School of Gifted Mutants. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm dreading this rant.
Josh, everyone.
Hi.
Jace here. We doing this?
Do I have a choice?
I mean, I feel great. Let's do this, Arrow Man. Let's go.
It's not even the same team.
In this episode of Learning Time, we talk about the origin and history of X-Men. X-Men was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and was published by Marvel Comics in 1963.
With the success of Marvel's other books, such as Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Fantastic Four, Stan Lee wanted to create another group of superheroes. However, he did not want to explain how they got their powers. As such, Stan wanted them to be mutants and be born with their powers.
Initially, Stan Lee presented the book to then Marvel Comics publisher Martin Goodman as the mutants, but Goodman turned down the name, stating that readers would not know what a mutant was. And so the book was renamed to X-Men, named after Professor Xavier, the leader.
Actually, while that is widely regarded as so, Xavier himself in the book claims that the X-Men was never attributed to him. It's most likely tied to the X gene, which is the unknown gene that causes mutation. Mutation doesn't signify what many people in reality understand as scientific mutation, but more of an addition of fantastical powers and sometimes handicaps. Xavier calls his students X-Men for extra power.
The book focused on a common human theme of good versus evil, and later introduced storylines and themes about prejudices and racism. This was especially significant during the 60s when the civil rights movement took center stage in the United States. The X-Men series made tough subjects like equality easier to understand as well as relatable to readers.
However, the book lagged in sales behind other Marvel titles. It wasn't until the 1970s where a new team was introduced and the inclusion of characters such as Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Wolverine came into play that the title started getting much more steam.
The 1980s were a great year for the X-Men, where most of its well-known stories debuted. The Dark Phoenix Saga and Days of Future Past put the books into new heights. And though the early 80s X-Men was Marvel's best-selling book, it was during this time many spin-off books of the X-Men were made.
In the 1990s, X-Men's success continued and spread even further with the animated series. Not only did the themes of the book stay true, but it also included a theme song that you can't get out of your head. And yes, Learning Time music was chosen on purpose. You're welcome.
In July 2000, X-Men debuted on the silver screen, helmed by Bryan Singer, and was released by 20th Century Fox. X-Men is widely considered to be the first successful entry of the modern comic book movie genre, paving the way forward for the eventual hits that followed thereafter.
After the first live-action X-Men movie, 9 successful installments of the X-Men movies were made, with many more to come, including Legion on FX television network, and other goodies to keep your eyes and ears peeled for.
At its core, X-Men has illustrated the complexities of groups of people fighting for equality and fairness, yet still highlighting all different types of opinions which are valid 50 years later. There are several lessons to be learned within the many stories over the decades, such as hatred, jealousy, love, compassion, resistance, unity, education, hope, and even despair. Whew. Why do you keep looking at me like that?
I'm bracing myself.
This is nothing that you haven't heard already.
But now you have a platform. We've heard snippets before.
Okay. Well, let's do trivia first.
Ugh.
All right, so we found, because we loved the previous episode for Star Trek trivia, I thought it was a good idea to do X-Men trivia, because you and I'd always talk about this. I feel like you're an X-Men fan, not as much. You know, obviously you like Spider-Man more, right?
Oh, love me some wall crawlers.
Okay, so let's see. We'll do the same thing. We don't have a piece of paper. We're just going to go online on our computers, and then we'll kind of go. Do you want to start? Do you want to ask me? Do you want me to start? Like, how do you want to do this?
I'll start by asking you, and then vice versa. I think you started asking me the last time, so let's flip it.
Okay.
So we'll go here. You have it on your page, right?
I do, and
All
we'll
right.
post a link so you can follow along and you can see if you'd like to play.
Definitely. It's a lot of fun.
That's it.
So we're gonna start things off easy. Okay.
I see.
Alrighty. Very easy.
Very easy. This
What
is GameSpot, right?
Yes, this is GameSpot.
GameSpot. Okay.
GameSpot.com. They're a very good
GameSpot.
place source for games, but apparently they have trivia too.
Apparently.
Apparently. All
All
right.
right.
So
Let's do this.
easy. What metal alloy has Wolverine's skeleton been reinforced with?
That is. There's no multiple choice. I don't like this. But I
There's
know
no
the-
multiple choice. It's either you know it or you don't.
I think that's horse poopy. I'm gonna say adamantium.
I mean, I would hurt you if you were incorrect, but yes, it is adamantium.
Do you know one time I had asked that question to somebody and they responded with, and they're gonna laugh when they hear this. They responded with, Wolverine's skeleton is reinforced with metal aluminum. Metal. I crap you not. He said that metal aluminum.
There's a lot of things wrong with that sentence.
Yeah. So I never let him live it down. And if you are watching this, or I'm sorry, watching. What am I talking about? If you're listening to this show right now, you'll know that I'm thinking about you. You know who you are. Okay.
That's pretty great.
So metal aluminum. Maybe that'll be a catchphrase.
Metal aluminum.
Yes. So was I right? Can you tell me if I was right?
I mean, adamantium is correct. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And moving along.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is, the question is,
Mm-hmm.
which mutant that appeared in the Deadpool movie proves that the X-Men really have run out of names?
Ooh. I mean, the only one I can think of is, what's her name? Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I believe is her name.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You are correct.
What's up? See, look. I actually know things, unlike the last trivia.
Oh, come on. You learned some things.
Ask me to name half of the things that we talked about in that trivia.
Okay. I'll take you up on that offer. Maybe the next episode when you've had time to have it sink in.
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
So, yes, you are correct. We're going to move on to the next one.
Alrighty, here we go. Alright, this
Right.
one should be pretty simple for you.
Yes.
Who is Quicksilver's father?
Magneto.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. That's another. Why are you getting the throwaway ones? You got Adamantium, you got Magneto as his father.
I mean, but you gotta. I mean, Deadpool's your favorite movie, is it not?
It's not my favorite movie, but it's definitely it's up there. I really enjoy it.
It's your favorite X-Men movie.
No.
Are you sure? You can't answer me.
I got to think about Logan a little bit more, and then I got to think about Days of Future Past, honestly, because I really enjoyed Days of Future Past and X2. I mean, X2 is amazing.
Okay, we'll swing back around in the next episode for clarity. Yeah, okay.
Definitely. All right. So it's your turn, right?
Yes. So the question is,
yes.
What did Stan Lee make a cameo appearance as in the first X-Men movie? Oh, come on, this is easy.
That is pretty easy. He was the was he the hot dog vendor or the one buying the hot dog?
Oh, I mean, it's either one or the other, so you're gonna have to commit.
I want to say he was the vendor.
Okay, is that your final answer?
Yes.
Okay, and you are correct. He is literally casted as IMDb.com hot dog vendor.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great.
Anyway, moving on.
Question.
Keeping with the Stan Lee tradition. So, what was Stan Lee doing in his X-Men: The Last Stand cameo?
What was he doing?
Yeah.
What was Stan Lee doing? Oh, yeah, he was watering his plants. He was just watering his plants, right?
Is that your final answer?
I mean, that's literally the only thing he was doing in that movie. He was watering his plants, and then the water goes up, and he's like, "Oh my God, water is going up."
So I'm gonna give you a half point.
What?
And the reason I give you a half point is because the answer that GameSpot uses is that he was using a garden hose. But what would he be using a garden hose for? It'd be to water plants. So I'm gonna give you half a point.
I mean, you could have said be more specific, and I would say he was watering. But I did say garden hose, didn't I?
No, you did not use the word garden hose at all.
I said watering his plants.
You said watering. You could be watering with a bucket, you know.
But I said he had a hose and the water was going up.
I'll give you a point. Fine. Stop arguing.
Okay, so I'm asking you the question.
What's next?
Right? Who is believed to be the first person ever born with the mutant gene? Oh, this is easy.
Oh, that'd be Apocalypse, wouldn't it?
You would be correct. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You are correct.
Sweet.
Okay, let's keep it moving.
Keep it moving. All right. What superhero was Storm married to?
Oh, is this...
This is going into comic stuff now.
Okay, I know this. I want to say I thought she was married before, but I know she's married to the Black Panther now. So
okay.
I'm going to say Black Panther.
Your final answer.
I'm saying that.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Totally married to the Black Panther, the Wakandian king, as it were.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be wonderful to see in theaters? But, just say it.
We'll save that for later. Save it for later.
Okay, fine. Let's move along. Are you asking or am I asking? What am I doing?
I'm asking now.
Okay, great.
Oh, wait, no, you're asking me.
I'm asking. Yeah, we do good with going back and forth.
We do. We do great.
Can you name all 4 actors who played Magneto in the X-Men films? Wow.
Ugh. I mean, I know 2 of them.
Obviously.
I'm assuming they want the kid versions too. I don't know the kid versions. But I do know Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen. I don't know the 2 kid versions. So I mean, yeah, I don't know the other 2. Just skip it. I don't know. I won't know them at all.
It's Bill Milner and Brett Morris.
Yeah, no idea who they are.
Yeah, All right.
Yeah, no idea. Sorry, guys. I do know your elder companions. I do not know who you guys are.
I know the elder companions. Okay.
I don't know what
go
that
ahead.
means either.
I know your elder companions. What does that mean?
Moving on. All right.
Moving along.
So, I know you weren't a huge fan of the movie, so let's give you the comic book version of it.
Oh, good.
So in X-Men Days of Future Past, it was Wolverine who went to
Yes.
the past. But in the
Correct.
comic book version of X-Men Days of Future Past, who was the mutant that traveled back in time?
So I'm like, for people who are listening to the show, I'm like moving my head away so I don't like see any hints because they're like little tiles here. And if you look and I'm like, oh, well, clearly they're giving it away. Like, what kind of trivia is this? So I'm my head is turned until I have to go to the next slide. But you're asking me who is the character that goes back in time in the book?
In the book.
It's Kitty Pryde.
That's correct.
All right.
Kitty. Played by Miss Ellen Page in the movies.
See, I'm so glad that I'm not reading this for everybody who's playing along. It's just not. I mean, it's almost not. It's better to listen to us do this because it says here, and I quote: "Hint: It's not the same character who travels back in time for the movie version. That character's hands are in this photo, though. Like, could you?
Oh, I didn't even read that part.
Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah, I've just been reading the
hey?
question. I didn't even know that there were hints there.
I'm just looking away because I'm pretty sure
if you look at the hint, you're good.
Yeah, if you look at the next slide too, you're also good.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're.
All right, so it's your turn.
Hey, look, I'm just I'm not saying that. It's just it's like weirdly worded. Hey, look, it's Gambit. What is his real name? What's Gambit's real name?
I mean, if I look at the next slide, it's clearly Channing Tatum. That's his real name.
Clearly,
no,
that's not his real name.
So it's Gambit's real name is Remy LeBeau.
Is that your final answer? Oh, okay. So before we move on, he has a middle name, and it's listed here. Do you know what his middle name is?
I don't know what his middle name is.
His middle name is, it's very French.
He's Cajun.
Yes. And it's a French name.
All right, well, there's that.
The English translation for his middle name is Stephen.
So how do I say Stephen in French?
How do you say Stephen in French?
Esteban?
No? Try.
I was trying to go for more Spanish. Spanish and French are close, right?
Rainbow. Esteban Lebeau.
Remy Esteban Lebeau.
Oh yeah, that's just spice written all over.
No, I don't know. I don't know his middle name.
His middle name is Etienne.
Etienne?
Etienne.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I never knew his middle name.
Yes, Etienne.
Yeah, I knew the Remy LeBeau. I didn't know Etienne.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is the French version of. So you learned something new, and this is what Fresh Geek Context is all about.
It's always something new.
Always something new.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So are you asking me the question now?
I am asking you the question. So,
Yes.
Scott Summers, Cyclops.
Yes.
He has two mutant brothers. Can you name them both?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, am I naming their real names?
Yeah, they're real names. They're just their first names.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Alex Summers.
Yeah. It's always the second brother that gets to me too.
It's always the second brother, and I don't know why I'm having like a brain fart right now, but I totally know the answer to this. I also know there's like a third Summers brother that was always mentioned but never really explained.
Yeah.
Alex Summers, Scott Summers. So I know who the like it's.
All right. Who's the what's his mutant name?
So it's Havoc and Cable.
Ooh, you sure?
No, wait, I'm getting confused again.
I'm gonna let you do that one over again.
No, I'm just gonna quietly give up now.
Because Cable is a Summers, just not a brother.
Yes. No, he's not. He's the future from the. He's from the future.
Yes.
I got nothing. Let's just do it.
Gabriel Summers, also known as Vulcan.
Oh, okay.
I always forget about him too.
G-rated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget about him all the
Fair
time.
enough.
Alex is the only one that matters.
Obviously.
All right.
Ready
for
okay,
Matt.
So we're still all right. Ready? Can you name all 6? Oh, this is gonna be great. Can you name all 6 playable characters in the classic X-Men arcade game?
Okay. Okay, you got Cyclops,
Okay.
Wolverine.
I'm surprised you didn't say Wolverine first, but go ahead.
I mean, Cyclops is the leader. I got a rep, right?
Sure.
Cyclops,
okay,
Wolverine.
Yes.
Storm,
Yes.
Nightcrawler.
Yes. Got 2 more.
Colossus?
Yes.
Who's the 6th one? Oh man, 6th one is
A very annoying person. She was kind of reinvented as a newer character in the 90s comics
Jubilee?
and TV show. Nope.
I have no idea. Then I named.
Are you giving up?
Yeah, I don't.
Her name is Dazzler.
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 Who's Dazzler?
I never. No, what did I say? A character nobody cares about. I mean, people care about her, but obviously not enough for.
Don't remember who Dazzler is.
She is the precursor to Jubilee.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
I should get a half a point for saying Jubilee.
I mean, but I also gave you that.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay.
All right. It's your turn.
All right, let's do this.
What prize did Marvel Comics start sending to fans who reported mistakes in the X-Men comics starting in 1964?
What prize
Yeah.
did Marvel Comics... What?
So what prize did Marvel Comics start sending to fans who reported mistakes in the X-Men comics starting in 1964?
I have no idea.
I would have no idea either.
What prize did Marvel Comics start sending to fans who... What reported mistakes?
Who reported mistake? I guess like spelling errors or like animation errors, something like that.
Comic book issues? I have no idea.
Is that your final answer?
No, I mean, yes, obviously, because I have no idea.
I mean, to be honest, I had no idea about this either. But
you know what's going to happen? You're going to tell me, and I'm honestly going to go, oh, yeah, I did know that, actually.
Probably not.
I don't know. Let's try it. Go ahead.
The answer is the No Prize. So the award, an empty envelope that congratulates its recipient for winning the No Prize, was created by Stan Lee in 1964 as a tongue-in-cheek response to the error, finding rewards offered by other comic publishers. Many winners failed to get the joke, complaining to Marvel that their prize must have fallen out of the envelope in transit.
I take that back. I had no idea that was a thing.
I didn't know either, but that sounds like something Stan Lee would do. He'd be like, here, he's like, you're a good boy. Here's an empty envelope.
Here you go, true believers.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. No. Here we go. You should be able to enjoy this question. Yep. What mutant powers does Jubilee have?
Blowing up VHSs in arcades.
No.
That was in the animated series. She does shoot like sparks and stuff. What is that actually? I'm assuming that has an actual name though.
Yes.
It's like sparks and fireworks.
She says fireworks in the video game, but that's not what the answer is.
There's a word for that, right?
Yes. And they do this every 4th of July.
Fireworks.
What is the technical name?
Pyrotechnics?
Yes.
Okay.
The ability to project pyrotechnics. I'll give you the answer. I'll give you that one.
Cool. AKA sparks.
Or AKA sparks. Okay, go ahead. Go. Next question.
Alrighty. Of Jean Grey, Storm, Mystique, Jubilee, and Rogue.
This is a Wolverine question. I know it.
You're not wrong.
Go ahead.
Which of the 5 has Wolverine never shown romantic interest to?
What did you say? Jean Grey?
So Jean Grey, Storm.
Yeah, that's off the list.
Mystique, Jubilee, and Rogue. Which of the 5 has Wolverine never shown romantic interest in?
I'm gonna go with Jubilee, simply because she's just too young. I'm pretty sure he was interested in Rogue at one small point. I'm pretty sure Mystique was a thing.
I'm
gonna go with Jubilee.
Have you seen Rogue in the animated series?
Just
saying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm gonna go with Jubilee.
Jubilee.
Yes.
Final answer?
Final answer.
You're correct. It is Jubilee.
Yes.
Jubilee and Wolverine have more of a father-daughter relationship, which they kind of changed for the X-Men movies, which then became Rogue and Wolverine as a father-daughter thing.
And we can't move along because we finished it.
We can't. No, that was the 20th question.
That was the 20th question.
Did
So,
we
see,
keep a
that
tally of who won?
Who keeps track? I mean, it's a learning.
Hey,
show,
listeners,
so
tweeted
sort
us
of...
who won. Tally it up, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Also, remember, Jace got a half a point for something, and I got a full point for something that I should have gotten a half point on. Just saying.
Actually, I did get that full point. Actually.
He got a half point. Make sure you do that.
Okay, so that's the trivia. See, now we know some stuff.
We do know some stuff. We had fun. We had fun with that. But
Yeah.
is it that time? It's that time. All right. Let's just get this over with. Go, rant, go.
Okay, but first nostalgia.
Oh, come on.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, we got to talk about this because we always talk about this every single time. X-Men is no different. So, what are your first impressions? Like, what was your first book? What was your first experience? Like, when did X-Men come into your field of vision? What was happening?
So the first thing I remember about X-Men was indeed the animated series. That's when I was first introduced to them. After that, I remember them. I of course watched the Spider-Man cartoon as well because they were all on Fox. I saw them cross over with Spider-Man, and I was like, oh my god, there was Spider-Man now, and things were happening there. And my brother, he had a few of the books. I believe he had some Wolverine stuff, like just solo Wolverine stuff, as well as some of the old. I think he had parts of the Dark Phoenix saga on him.
Okay.
I don't think he had Days of Future Past, but I do remember reading a little bit of the Dark Phoenix saga. And then also, just a little bit of a side note, do you remember when Marvel and DC crossed over and they kind of combined like their heroes together?
The Almagan universe.
So
I read that. Yeah, that was a.
So my brother had the one that was like a fusion of Batman and Wolverine. That one was pretty cool.
The Batclaw. I remember that. Yeah, that was.
He had that one. He had a few others, but that one was really awesome. That design I really loved.
If I look, I might actually have all of them.
Yeah, he should still have them all. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember that specifically. I thought that was really awesome. But
right,
yeah,
so that was your first
X-Men
experience.
for me mainly wasn't really the book so much. It was mostly the animated series. That's where I really felt the love for X-Men from that.
I find it interesting how people get introduced to things. Like there was you made me remember this in one of our previous episodes. You had said when you were getting into video games, you had only got into video games because of handhelds.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a strange concept because I had always gotten into video games because of consoles.
Right.
But, I was talking to my cousin, during the holidays, and, we were talking about that because I'm pretty sure we were either prepping for, talking about video games or, either, conversations of video games came up, and he had a similar experience that you did. And he said that, he only got handhelds, which made sense because it was his system and he got to play games that he really enjoyed.
Right.
So
yeah. How did you get into X-Men? Because the animated series was way later than anything, I'm sure.
So I got into reading comic books late 80s, early 90s. Okay. But I started collecting around the time. It was funny because you know what? I have to think about this actually because I was in 4th grade when a friend of mine was talking about like the show, and she was like, "You gotta watch it." Mm-hmm. But I had already had X-Men books, but I don't know why I never thought to like equate the two.
Sure. And
I remember going into a flea market that was selling like comic books. They had a whole arrangement, and we had this discussion. I think it was the first episode. Where we were talking about X-Men, books, and it was either choosing between Superman and X-Men, and I said, I'm clearly choosing X-Men because they got better covers.
Sure.
And I just remember opening up those books and falling in love with the artwork and the story. I was just like, I was so enthralled with it.
Right.
And so when it came to the cartoon, it was a no-brainer for me because I was already familiar with these characters that I had read in these books. And I was familiar with it, but it was funny because it was this wonderful synergy that was going around because they were borrowing from all these things that were happening in the books and they were putting them in the show. And so I was watching the show, and it was bringing me back to the books. It was a great time to be a kid. And, after I read, as many books as I could, the game started coming out. So that's when X-Men started coming out.
Right.
For the Sega Genesis, I had X-Men 2 Clone Wars, which was amazing.
Sure.
And so I was all about the X-Men. Like I was, I couldn't get enough of it. And I could, I really identified with the story.
Sure.
Just I understood what each person was saying. Even humans to the core level,
Right.
just wanting to survive and understanding that core base fear, that existed there.
Right. I always enjoyed the X-Men because of that. Like even in the cartoon, there would be episodes where like humans would be scared of the X-Men, and me as a child, I'm just like, I wonder why they're scared of them. They're superheroes. They're trying to save these people. And obviously growing up, you go to understand like, oh, they're dealing with issues that unfortunately still happen today.
You're absolutely right.
But they deal with prejudices and racism and things of that nature, and they put at as like mutants. Mutants is that lower class or that that race or that whatever it is.
But is it lower class though? That's the question.
Well,
Is it like it's perceived as
That's
lower
what
class?
I'm
And
saying.
one of the
Perceived as.
and that's and the dynamic of these stories really bring that to light. Like, are we really the lower class when we could clearly take over?
Right. Exactly.
It was like, well, you don't really need to take over. We could live in peace and harmony and equality if we had a better understanding about who we are.
Right.
But, there are militants, and then there are people who are purists, and people who believe that this shouldn't mix. It's like, it really, like, covers ground, and that's why I loved it. It was just, there were obviously clear people who were the good guys, and there were clear people who were bad guys. But everyone was very capable of going too far,
Right.
and making mistakes. I liked that realistic aspect of it, and it taught me a lot.
For sure. I mean, it taught me a lot. Even though I didn't know I was learning it. It's kind of just subconsciously going in.
Right, absolutely.
Which is definitely what I love about the characters. But
absolutely,
the
and I'm
story.
sure, and we can't obviously cram all of this into one episode. So I mean, this is something that we continuously can revisit, because we can take apart one episode or one issue and just say like, did you notice that this happened, or do you notice how this was presented?
And there are a lot of issues, so we can be doing
a lot
that
of
for a
issues.
while.
Exactly.
But instead of doing that, let's just go a little bit over nostalgia, just a little bit more. Who would you say your favorite X-Men character is?
Oh, that's a hard one, because getting into it, I was all about Wolverine.
Sure, that's
But
the easy
then-
answer.
That's the easy answer, because he had
I mean,
three,
who's cooler than Wolverine?
Come on, 3 forearm length claws, and he could heal really fast. Which was something I didn't even realize at first. I was like, yeah, he's cool because he's got claws. It was like, well, that's not really his mutant power.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Like
so
for
he
the
can
longest
heal.
time, I also thought that was his power. I was like, oh, he has claws.
Right. But as you read and you learn, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
But I would say, it's hard because I never really liked the solo characters. Like, I never was like a fan of just Wolverine. I was a fan of Wolverine and Cyclops. I was a fan of Professor Xavier and Magneto.
They come in pairs because of the dynamic between them.
It's not necessarily in pairs. I just liked how certain characters interacted with others.
Sure.
Like how Storm interacted with the Marauders. I don't know if you remember this, but the Marauders were a group of mutants that lived in the subway.
Right.
And there was a battle that kind of happened underground. And they were at a standoff, but Storm kind of stood in and said, if I battle, I take leadership over the Marauders.
Sure.
Over with Callisto. Now, Callisto was briefly mentioned in X-Men 3, but, you don't really get any of her backstory.
Right.
They kind of fight, and that's like, oh, we see that these two people are fighting, so we're going to put it in the movie. But they never really did anything with those characters.
Right.
You know, Storm being able to kind of step up and show her strength and her worth, and in that issue, in that book, in that story arc, I had a deep appreciation for Storm, as a leader, as a mutant, as like so many different things, and I saw the ramifications of that because there was some issues that happened afterward where the Marauders kind of come back and said, you became the leader, but you never led. And so you abandoned us. And I was just like, oh my, like that's what I love. It's like the characters aren't the things that are leading the story. You know, there are pieces that are moving inside the X-Men universe that are out of some characters' controls, and sometimes you can move things along, but you know, you are definitely a participant on this planet, you know. It's hard, man. I can't really say for certain who's my favorite character. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Xavier.
Okay.
And it wasn't that when I was younger. You know, when I was younger, you know, it was all about like team players or bad boys, but looking at Xavier in context of the 90s, you know, he was, you know, the person that I can look up to. You know, he saw that he had this great power, and he built a school to teach children, you know, or students alike, give them shelter, just teach them overall and how to kind of function within society. I can identify with that. I totally understand that.
That's really cool. I mean, yeah, definitely. For me, there's the easy answer, of course. The easy answer is Wolverine.
Okay.
But honestly, right after Wolverine, I'd have to agree with you on Storm. I really enjoy her character. I really, really like Storm.
Yeah.
Just pretty much everything you said is absolutely correct with her. Not only that, but I mean, I would love to have the ability to control the weather whenever I wanted to. So that's another part of it. But exactly what you said, her, you know, being that leader, being the person that she is, definitely attributes to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we're going to have to revisit this topic because there's like a lot that I want to say when I'm like, I know we don't have time. But
well, we don't have that much time, but we do have a little bit of time here. So
you're giving me that look.
I am giving you that look. It is time.
Okay.
So I'm just going to let you get into it because you were just talking about, you know, the characters and the story and how does that make you feel when you go into these movies that have been, you know, I mean, Logan came out and this is the 10th movie in the X-Men franchise by Fox.
Yeah.
So over the past 10 movies, like how's this honestly made you feel watching these movies compared to the characters you know already exist in these books?
So thank you for the lead-in. I have to say, I was expecting to just explode right now.
Sure.
But, you know, after watching Logan and after absorbing everything as a whole, like, I always want, like, the best possible scenario.
Sure.
Obviously. And it seems that as a whole, as of everything that I've seen, and there's been a lot of missteps, I always want that interconnectivity, you know? And I know that's not primary. It's just like, do I feel that what I got in the books, the sense of the passion and the struggle for equality, identity, and, you know, all of these very important things to the human condition, or in this instance, the mutant condition, which sounds strange when I say it, because when you say the human condition, it sounds fine. But when you say mutant condition, that's you have a condition,
sure,
you know. But that's the beauty of this story, you know. Like, that's all the stuff that I love, and there's not many movies where I feel that has really that can dive into that thread,
sure,
and the meat of the story, because there's so much that's happening there. You know, X-Men did it a little bit. X-Men 2 kind of did it, you know, but they were really arguing with that. X-Men 3 really tried to do it, but there were just so many missteps there, and it was just as I said before, a missed opportunity.
Sure.
Origins was just I don't even to this day I still can't explain what went wrong. It's like giving a child like a pocket full of knives and said, I want you to just have as much fun as you possibly can. Because we don't have tomorrow. Like, it was just so bad, you know?
I mean, Origins, that one, I don't think anyone will disagree on you on that one. That could have been handled a whole lot better.
Sure. I mean, and every single time, you know, I'm hoping for these guys to get it. And when I say these guys, I mean, like, the only people that are responsible for putting these movies together.
Sure.
And it always seems like there's this weird misstep. And I'm like, don't you guys get it? Like,
and so let me ask you this. So, I mean, yeah, we had X-Men 3, which was, you know, a step down from the first two movies. And then we had Wolverine Origins.
Which was, I don't know what the hell was
exactly.
going on there.
But then, you know, we kind of get back on track a little bit with First Class. And then, of course, you know, critics and fans alike really enjoyed Days of Future Past. I didn't like First Class. Even though it wasn't part of the book. But what's your take on those two?
I didn't like First Class at first.
Okay.
I know people kept saying, like, oh, like, you want, like, the costumes to be perfect. It's perfect here. Yeah,
sure.
You know. I could see why people liked it, but if you don't get attached to something, then it's not going to be there.
Sure.
So if it's not there, I don't know what to say. Like, I can say that now I appreciate it a lot more than I did, but something still felt off. And it's probably because I still had such a bad taste in my mouth from the last movies that I really couldn't enjoy this one.
Sure.
And do you remember, like, we talked about this for Deadpool. It's like, even if this movie is amazing, I know what you've done with Deadpool already.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you could give me everything that I want, but I've already been hurt before. I feel like I just got out of a terrible relationship.
Right.
You know, it's like, this is terrible. What have you done to me? I didn't think, and the only reason why I dislike X-Men, like, I'm not gonna say hate, because hate is such a strong word, especially for something like entertainment. I think the whole thing is trivial, honestly, you know. But because, and I have to make these comparisons, because Marvel, the cinematic universe, Marvel Studios has done this so eloquently and so methodically. If you can do it for these characters, and for some that I don't like, because, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is coming out very soon, and that trailer, have you seen that trailer yet?
Oh, it's so good.
I am super pumped. And like I said, I am a fan of Kurt Russell. Will always be a fan of Kurt Russell, and you finally get to see a clip. It's like you spend all this time, you know, crafting something, and whenever you care about something, you know, this podcast, we spend time, you know, crafting something.
Right.
I really wonder are the people over at 20th Century Fox spending the time crafting this? I don't feel that they are. And I can only go on what I feel because, you know, you can tell when somebody sits down and they make a cathedral.
Sure.
You know, you go to, you know, London and you're looking at Big Ben. You could say the Big Ben is not anything special, but it stands the test of time. You know, that building has been standing there for years.
Yeah.
And it's still, like, you can see Stonehenge to this day, and you can tell that there was something very special, something very thoughtful. Somebody was very focused on making this.
Sure.
Even as it starts to crumble, it's not it still keeps you in awe.
It's fair. I mean, so you're talking about, you know, standing the test of time here.
Absolutely.
What do you feel like? What do you think X-Men has left behind then? And then, you know, movie wise or comic wise, and then where do you think it's going in the future?
Comic wise, I think that's going to stand the test of time forever. because X-Men has been around for what, about 50 years, more than 50 years now.
Yeah.
So it's been over for 50 years, and if you're reading the first books that were created in the 60s and 70s, and I've been fortunate enough to actually read with my hands some of the original books from like the first decade that they were out.
Sure.
I do not own it, and I wish I did. I really wish I did. But if you're reading those books, they're still talking about a lot of the stuff that's still going on in current events,
Yeah.
like some serious stuff. You know, I can't really say the same for the movies.
Okay.
You know, as much as I would like to have them stand the test of times, I don't feel as strongly as I do about X-Men. I don't feel as strongly as I do for X-Men 2, you know, as I did when it first came out. So who knows? It's very rare that I see that it ever changes, but that's my problem. You know, I still watch, you know, I watched Iron Man last year. I haven't watched it this year. And that still looks amazing to me.
Sure.
You know, Avengers is still one of my favorites, but I feel like this is going to be around for a long time based on what I'm seeing.
Sure.
But who knows, you know?
And what do you think the future of the X-Men franchise holds?
I have no idea. And that's my problem with them, because it's like I don't anticipate anything, because I know they're going to make movies because they're contractually obligated to make movies. But you being contractually obligated to make movies doesn't mean that you're doing a good job with them.
Sure.
They've been contractually obligated to make Fantastic Four, and they've made 3 in the last 3 decades. And every single time, it's been a WTF moment.
To be fair, they did make 2 Fantastic Fours, and they made a Fan Four stick.
Yes, but do you feel like they were really putting in their heart and soul and energy into their craft?
I feel like in the first one they tried, and then after that, well, the Tim Story
The
one
second
from
one.
the Tim Story one from 2004. I feel like that they were trying for sure. You can kind of feel that they were trying.
Of course.
But you know,
And that's why
the
I enjoy
others
it a
not
lot
so much.
more. You know what's funny is I don't really know what happened with Fan Four Stick. You know,
God.
it was just scenes put together. Nothing in that felt cohesive.
Nothing. You're absolutely right. I can still remember when I was like, all right, let me sit down. Like, I had to mentally prepare myself because I knew, you know, I've read all the reviews and everything on how bad it was. I had to mentally prepare myself before I sat down on my couch to watch this movie and go, okay, it's going to be a bad movie. Let me just go watch it and see what happens. And the thing that sucks about it is that the first, like, maybe, 15-20 minutes of that movie, you're just like, oh, this is actually kind of good. Like, you know, they're kind of going, and, oh, okay, there it goes. Yep, and, all right, we're done.
Oh, you felt that for Fan Four Stick?
Yeah, I felt like the first few minutes of that movie was actually decent. And then after that, it was done.
I think you're giving them a lot of credit.
I
But
think
what my
I might
problem
be, but to me, that's how I felt. I was like, all right, I can actually dig this a little bit, and then they just lost me completely.
So here's where I think you... Well, again, this is all a matter of personal opinion. Fantastic Four, as much I may like them a little bit in the comics, I don't feel as strongly as I do for Fantastic Four as I do for X-Men.
Sure.
And so that's what makes me angry, because it's like you have so much good stories, but you're reaching for these, you know, these characters like Apocalypse or, you know,
Sure.
Days of Future Past. And I'm like, but do you understand what is really happening?
What the reason for those being
What the
written.
reason is, like, Days of Future Past, if you read that, that's a depressing, very, like,
Dark.
humbling type of story. I mean, you could say dark, but anything, if you think about it, anything is dark.
Everything's dark, yeah.
You know, if you're reading any of the X-Men books, what they're dealing with on a semi-daily basis, for the most part, is persecution. From people, from government, from everybody. Even sometimes mutants, you know? So
Even their own kind, yeah.
So if you think about the very core concept of Days of Future Past, you're talking about there was a character that was able to go back in time, okay, and it was a darker future. Like, things didn't go at all according to plan. And I'm like, when I first read it, because I read it a long time ago, it was probably
Sure.
maybe around like my first years in high school. I just remember wrapping my head around it, and I skimmed through, and I was like, "This is terrible. This is really like." Could you imagine you lived your life for however many years you lived your life?
Sure.
Okay, you've had a pretty good childhood, right? I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you found a DeLorean, and you went back to the past, and you realized your childhood was not the way you remember it,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of have to just be there. Like you're not seeing it, and you're not really in a position to change it.
Yeah.
Do you see do
Yeah.
you see the context here? Like the context is just ridiculous. And so you have these characters that have already been dealing with a crap ton of strife, and now most of these people have either been captured or murdered.
Right.
That is the level of insanity of that story is so like grounding, honestly.
Sure.
And then you have these movies, and they're going into the 70s, and I see everyone's wearing like bell bottoms. And I'm like, I don't feel the same way I did when I was reading the books.
Sure.
That's all.
That's fair.
I feel a lot more subdued in my rant here, because I always get frustrated in every single episode, but here I feel like
Well, it's more of a mutual conversation, I guess. Not really a rant.
You know what it is, Josh? I got to be completely honest with you
What is it?
without getting too much into it.
Yes.
I accept it now. I'm tired of like ranting. Like I'm tired of just getting frustrated with it. Like
Sure.
I don't have confidence that Marvel will ever work out a deal with Fox
For X-Men specifically.
for X-Men specifically. And I can only see a benefit there. Because Spider-Man is coming out. I have no doubt that franchise is only going to benefit. So I mean, I would love to be the fly on the wall, for the people who are negotiating and said, well, because there had to have been some talks,
No, they're definitely.
and somebody had to initiate
There
it,
had to
and
have
somebody had to say no. So if we had a guest, star interview who said, "Hey, we were on the initial talks of when this was about to go down, but this is really," I would love to know, but I kind of see who's more willing to play ball and who's not.
Sure.
So I'm not going to judge, but I know there are certain things that I'd like to see, but I'm not looking forward to it anymore. Like if you do it, awesome. If it happens in my lifetime, awesome. But if it doesn't, I know that I still have the books from the 90s.
So, final question. If Marvel did get the rights back, right? And the X-Men were able to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, would that be enough to kind of get you to be like, oh my god, you know what? I'm back into X-Men again? Or would they have to do something special? Not just be in the universe, but actually Marvel would have to make something special.
I don't know, because there's my frustration with X-Men now, after of this love and infatuation that I've had with X-Men pretty much all my childhood life,
Sure.
is it's not only that the movies are suffering, but the books are suffering too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going through this whole weird arc with the Inhumans, and it's like, if you were to ask me like in high school, what do you think about the Inhumans? I would have told you, like, I love the Inhumans. Like, I have one of the first issues where they appeared in a Fantastic Four special. I think it was like the first special.
Okay.
I have that one. And like somebody was telling me about Black Bolt and how he doesn't speak because if he does, he's going to like obliterate you. I thought that was so cool, but it was completely different from the X-Men. And now that like Marvel's doing this weird thing, and they're like trying to make the Inhumans the X-Men, but like the X-Men are not really there, and they're about to get like completely eradicated. And I'm like, what is even going on right now?
Sure.
It just like the creative juices that flowed for X-Men is not there anymore.
I mean,
So,
you could
I don't
argue
really-
you could argue that Marvel's only doing that because they're trying to promote their cinematic characters more. And had
course.
And had X-Men, been part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how much do you want to bet they wouldn't be having that much of a backseat?
Yeah, but I mean, you and I both know this. So, I mean, let's say, for example, something miraculous happens
Sure.
and Marvel and Fox strike a deal and it's on, AP Newswire and, there's a landmark decision and everybody
Sure.
gets their crap together. I'd be happy, but it's like, I've been sad for so long, and I really don't want to make this like, I'm not going to get emotional out of this. So it's like,
Sure.
I would love for an X-Men movie where they have some semblance of their costumes.
Okay.
Like Wolverine's never gonna have his mask on. This is Hugh Jackman's last movie, so he's done how many movies? He's done nearly
He's been playing the character for 17 years.
so he's been in nearly 10 movies. And my man has not been in the costume once.
I mean, would you prefer yellow spandex?
It's like, I don't know. It's my whole frustration. I thought this was going to be my time to actually rant. But I gotta tell you, like, after watching this movie, Logan, I don't want to rant anymore. I think I'm good. Maybe I'll rant next week. Maybe I'll have like, Jace thoughts or something like that. And I'll just have me speaking to a microphone. I'm like, you know what? I take that back, guys. I just don't know how I feel. But this is because of the reason why. But honestly, it's like the movie is what it is, right? And it's everything that we had discussed before. But as far as everything else is concerned, I just don't. I don't think I'm bothered by it anymore.
Okay, so do you feel better now? Then
Yes.
You sure? How much?
Yes. Very, very much.
Okay, and you say,
Thank you. Thank you for letting me have this moment. Thank you
and
so much for tuning in. I'll tell you what, if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Jace Rockland and Josh.
I am at JCA90. You can also find us at FGC Podcast or email us at freshgeekcontext@gmail.com.
You can also visit our website at freshgeekcontext.com for past episodes. And lastly, if you could, please hit that subscribe button for us on iTunes. It goes a long way for us to know that you're listening. You can go to the podcast section or the podcast app on your iPhone and share with your friends so they can be Fresh Geeks too. Everyone, catch you later, bub.
Ba-na-na-na-na. 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 Da-na-ba-na. Keep
Not
getting it
expecting
stuck
that
in
at
your
all.
head, people.
Was that
Such a catchy song. My God.
It is.